creating a news agenda that reflects an unbiased view of Asian current affairs without relying on external news sources. Asia Vision, Asian news through Asian eyes.
Hello and welcome to AVN, your weekly roundup of the news from around the globe. I am Abdullah Ahil, your host for the evening. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will embark on a two-day visit to Saudi Arabia on Tuesday at the invitation of the Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Prince Mohammed bin Salman.
With a 2.7 million strong Indian diaspora living and working here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has the second highest diaspora anywhere in the world. I'm here right now in Jeddah and outside a factory which Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be visiting on Wednesday when he comes calling on Saudi Arabia on Tuesday and Wednesday for a two-day visit. The Prime Minister shall be coming here and interacting with the workers in this factory. This is the floor of the processing plant or the factory of dates, which this third generation of Indians whose grandfather migrated here started with trading but later went into farming and production and now employs thousands of workers, not just from India but also from the subcontinent and also from Saudi Arabia, working in various capacities. A general perception is that Saudi society is very restrictive. Women do not have the kind of liberties that are seen in other parts of the world. But what we see here belies that. You see these young girls who are Saudi nationals working in this plant owned by Indian entrepreneurs. In fact, I have with me Lama Hafza, who's herself a Saudi national. She's the marketing manager here. Are the gender roles changing in Saudi Arabia when you started or when you were growing up?
Actually, by government, I'm just going to explain it in a nutshell. Working as a female gives you more points and the government itself. So all the companies are now directing towards like having more females.
I have with me Salman Vasaiwala. He is an entrepreneur here. You or your family generate employment and actually contribute to the economy of Saudi Arabia, don't you?
Correct, definitely. Yeah. Now, a lot has changed in the past 50 years. We've gone from trading into manufacturing, farming, distribution, and also with the new Vision 2030 coming up, Saudi Arabia has improved and is supporting us a lot.
The Prime Minister is coming here, visiting your factory, interacting with the workers. What sort of confidence does it inspire in the Indian diaspora working here?
No, actually, they're very excited. All the workers, they're honored. You know, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
हमारा देश का पीएम आएगा सर, बहुत खुशी की बात है सर. हमारा कंपनी में देख के जानकारी लेंगे सर, अच्छा लगेगा, बहुत खुशी की बात है सर. हमारा देश का पीएम है, गौरव है सर.
This sentiment that when the Prime Minister of the country comes and interacts with general factory workers, farm workers, ordinary people living outside their country, it inspires. With cameraman Saurabh Bakshi, this is Amritpal Singh for DD India in Jeddah.
Immigration is often a divisive issue in Australian politics, and this election is no different. Labor is yet to announce a detailed policy, but says it wants to bring migration under control. The coalition has recommitted to reducing net overseas migration, claiming that will help Australia's housing crisis. But experts say the problem is much more complicated, particularly in the outer suburbs of our cities.
There were good schools here, property was affordable, that was the main thing.
The vast majority of immigrants who come...
We've got the issues around infrastructure, public transport not keeping up.
ABC News, Melton.
A new report says it's never been more difficult to obtain home insurance in Australia after a series of natural disasters in recent years. The Climate Council report says 80 suburbs across Australia are now deemed critical risk zones and has urged authorities to work with insurance companies to find answers.
As Vicky and Jeff Woodhouse survey the block where their family home once stood, they think back in amazement to the scale of the floods that hit Shepparton in 2022.
We did not think that the house would be inundated with water to the extent that it was.
They were initially told by their insurance company they'd need to rebuild their property like for like, but they knew that would leave them unable to insure the new house.
To me, logically, why would you refit our home at the current floor level, which is setting me up to flood again?
Shepparton is the most at-risk suburb in Australia, with almost 90% of its properties considered uninsurable.
What we do in Shepparton, how we solve this, can be a blueprint for how we're going to solve this in hundreds of suburbs around Australia. But if we don't solve it, it will also be a blueprint of what demise looks like.
Climate risk analysis shows more than 80 suburbs around Australia are now critical risk zones, where more than 80% of properties are considered to be at high risk of climate-related damage. Getting insurance in Shepparton is now almost impossible.
We're seeing $30,000 a year increases, which is completely unrealistic.
But experts say blaming the insurance companies doesn't solve the problem.
Forcing the insurers to do things which are commercial suicide is not a solution.
They want insurers, banks and the government to work together to future-proof flood-prone communities.
If we are faced with flood events like we've experienced in 22, it'll be those same 700, 800, 900 houses that will be impacted again. We want to make sure that they can build back better.
Vicky and Jeff Woodhouse eventually negotiated a financial settlement and relocated.
We decided that it was all too much to build a new home and it was time to move on.
Drastic measures for a growing problem. Callum Marshall, ABC News, Shepparton.
5 months after the fall of dictator President Bashar al-Assad, violence is continuing in Syria as the new government grapples to secure control. New security forces have been conducting raids, trying to root out those loyal to the old regime. ABC correspondent Stephanie March got access to one of those operations and has this report from Damascus.
A Damascus suburb sealed off by Syria's new security forces. They're hunting for Assad regime loyalists. They say they've caught one. The detainee is hooded and held in the back seat. Armed, they say, with this.
فقمنا باكتشاف عدد من فلول النظام وقمنا بملاحقتهم وتفتيش بيوتهم وتم إلقاء القبض عليهم والآن جاري التمشيط على هذه المنطقة.
Another car, more weapons.
This is grenades?
Grenades.
Rooting out loyalists to the former regime is one challenge for Syria's new rulers. So too is improving their own international reputation. The coalition of rebel militias that overthrew dictator Bashar al-Assad in December were led by a former al-Qaeda commander who's now Syria's new president, Ahmad al-Shara, and his militia, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which is still listed as a terrorist organisation.
The economy is suffocating because of the sanctions and the terrorist listing. Our government is listed as a terrorist organisation, so no foreign entity can deal with it.
Getting access to foreign capital is vital to rebuilding after 13 years of civil war. There's a fuel crisis, a couple of hours of power a day, and a lack of physical banknotes.
This is a problem for all Syrian citizens. They have money in the bank, but they cannot withdraw it with cash. They put restrictions.
But making the transition from terrorist to trusted global citizen is no easy task. Stephanie March, ABC News, Damascus.
More than 11,000 shopping scam cases were reported in Hong Kong in 2024.
Despite efforts to educate the public about how not to fall prey to scammers, fraud cases are still on the rise. In 2024, police received nearly 12,000 online shopping fraud cases, marking an increase of nearly 30% year-on-year. The amount of money lost soared by 87% to $350 million, with an average loss amounting $30,000 per case. 15% of the cases were related to fraudulent concert ticket sales. The largest case took place between April and May last year, when a 40-year-old woman initially lost $300 while trying to buy a ticket through a Telegram chat group. She was later contacted by a scammer, impersonating as a staff member of an entertainment company, persuading her to buy tickets at a discounted price. It turned out to be a scam, with the woman losing nearly $1 million within a month. Another common type of scam involved fake Facebook pages. Police said potentially fake pages have a similar interface with the authentic pages. But the fake ones are usually created recently, with page administrators from various countries forging positive reviews. Scams also appeared on online sales platform Carousel. In this case, swindlers posed as buyers and asked sellers for their email addresses. The scammers would then send sellers a link to a fraudulent payment platform. Sellers were required to enter their bank account information, which allowed the swindlers to steal their money.
Whenever the public you would like to trade off some high amounts or luxury products, especially involving check, you must really pay attention. The trading conduct in this way is actually person to person, without any insurance or without any assurance protected by the third-party platform. So it is actually very risky.
The police said they would discuss with the Hong Kong Monetary Authority and banks about expanding the use of Scammeter, which will help to scrutinize suspicious bank accounts. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
Amid the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine and strained relations within Western countries, more and more Russian companies, from food producers to skincare brands, are looking east to Asia. Some of them are using Hong Kong as a new gateway to new markets.
These aren't your typical Spanish or Italian hams, they are made in Russia. With each pack selling for 20 Hong Kong dollars, they cost just a fraction of imported varieties. And these ready-to-eat sausages offer you a taste of Eastern Europe at only 10 Hong Kong dollars apiece. In this Moscow meat shop, some products end up in homemade salads, a staple on Russian dinner tables. The producer behind them raked in $151 million last year, supplying the products to the domestic market and exporting them to former Soviet republics. Now the company is setting its sight on Asia. Mainland China is high on the list because of its significant market size, but importing processed meat there involves relatively cumbersome procedures and documentation. As a result, Hong Kong has emerged as the primary testing ground, with its products making their debut in the city last month. Natalia Adraskaya, the company's chief PR officer, says Hong Kong is the stepping stone to mainland China. After successfully entering the Vietnamese market last year with localized flavors such as Tom Yum, the company is now eyeing Singapore, Malaysia and South Korea. Meanwhile, this Russian skincare brand has been working on the Hong Kong market for a decade. The city now accounts for 5% of the company's total sales. Its goal is to triple that within 3 years. The company's CEO, Anna Mochanova, says Hong Kong's comparatively simple import rules give the SAR an edge over mainland China, where extra certifications are needed. As Chinese tourists are already buying the company's product at stores in Russia, its next goal is to enter the mainland market as part of its plan to make Asia its second largest market.
According to Hong Kong Trade Development Council, the trade turnover between Hong Kong and Russia has reached to around $3 billion from January to November last year. According to the statistic in 2023, the trade was mainly focused on telecommunication equipment and semiconductors. Sakharib, TVB News, Moscow.
A new report has laid bare the chronic lack of funding and poor survival rates for women with cancer of the reproductive systems. While there have been advances in survival rates for all cancers in the last 50 years, more women are dying from gynecological cancers due to the late diagnosis and a lack of treatment options. National Health reporter Elise Worthington met the women hoping to survive long enough for science to catch up and prolong their lives.
Remind me who's got early morning tomorrow.
Ali Crawford is a busy mum to 3 teenagers.
Over 360.
In 2022, the 51-year-old discovered she had a rare uterine cancer.
8.5 weeks it took for diagnosis. My time stood still. I used everything that I knew to cope every day. And then I had to, at 3 o'clock, be normal mum.
Her treatment is ongoing and has involved multiple surgeries and 11 cycles of chemotherapy. Ali doesn't know how long she has to live. She feels precious time was wasted just getting a diagnosis.
Everything was held up in getting scans, but I knew I had a ticking time bomb in my pelvis. It was a very confusing time.
How are you?
Ali Crawford.
Lovely to see you.
Thank you so much.
In the lead up to the election, 150 terminally ill women and their supporters are visiting their local MPs, campaigning for more funding for gynecological cancers.
A commitment of $100 million.
Yep.
Handing over a new report from the Australia-New Zealand Gynecological Oncology Group that's found women are unnecessarily dying because of a chronic lack of investment and their symptoms are not being taken seriously.
When I read the stark realities of that report, I was completely kind of a mixture of devastated, but also now understood why we were in this position. The survival rates are as poor as the survival rates for all cancers 50 years ago.
When we add in other drugs, there's a good interaction.
Professor Claire Scott is a scientist and medical oncologist.
I believe that there hasn't been an improvement in survival because we simply don't know enough about these very rare cancers. We need more research and more clinical trials, and that requires more support and more awareness.
The report reveals 23 women will be diagnosed with a gynecological cancer each day by 2035. These include ovarian, uterine, endometrial, cervical, vaginal and vulval cancers. For nearly 2 decades, these have been the poorest funded cancers. The group is calling for a $100 million commitment over the next 4 years from the government to improve treatment and research. In northern Tasmania, Alex Neville thought her symptoms were part of menopause when they appeared in 2020 and struggled to get a diagnosis.
I'd never ever heard of endometrial cancer beforehand. I didn't know that abnormal bleeding was a sign, so I didn't know to be concerned.
Nothing can prepare you for hearing those words.
Alex is also part of the campaign for more funding, and she's passing on her experience to the next generation of doctors through a Survivors Teaching Students program, raising awareness for the importance of recognising symptoms.
If we get it early enough, the outcome for endometrial cancer is really positive. But you've got to get it early enough.
Alex has endured 27 rounds of radiation, 13 chemotherapy cycles, immunotherapy and clinical trials. She also doesn't know how long she'll live.
Involvement in the clinical trials is fabulous because it will buy me extra time, but what I'm also doing is I'm adding to science, I'm adding to knowledge. So what I'm doing now as a clinical trial will hopefully be a first-line treatment for a woman in the future.
I need to believe that I can hang on long enough for the science to get back on track. I want to approach this with hope, not fear.
Snowball fights may seem like a bit of fun, but in Japan, it's a serious sport. Competitions attract large home crowds, but organizers are keen for more international attention. North Asia correspondent James Oten visited a recent tournament to see what the fuss is about.
High in the hills of Hokkaido, there's the striking of snowballs.
It's fun to hit other people with snowballs, but it's frustrating when you get hit. You can't help but get hooked.
From humble beginnings in 1989, this tournament has become a major event with over 1,000 competitors. Now there's even an International Snowball Fight Federation, with 13 member nations, including Australia.
This is the birthplace of the snowball fight, and teams from all over the country gather here, so it's considered a holy place.
I first came across snowball fights by chance on the internet, and I've been doing it for over 20 years.
The aim of the game is simple: take out opponents with the allotted snowballs. There's the classic baseball pitch, or the sneaky lob. Whoever has more players at the end of a couple of rounds wins. Or if victory is near, you can capture the flag. And if there's no winner, it's time for a penalty shootout.
It's a great sport for relieving stress. I throw all my daily stress away with it.
Make no mistake, this is a contact sport. These snowballs have been packed very firmly. It feels like a cricket ball, and I'm told they leave quite the bruise.
It hurts. I play it while enduring the pain.
There's nothing soft about this sport. James Oten, ABC News, Subetsu Town.
That's all we have for now. Thank you all for watching. Wish you all a very pleasant day ahead.
Creating a news agenda that reflects an unbiased view of Asian current affairs without relying on external news sources. Asia Vision, Asian news through Asian eyes.
ಗೌಮಿ ಇನಾಮ್ ದೆಹಾಸ್ ಫನ್ಸವಿಸ್ ಮೀ ದಿವಿಹಿರಯ್ಯತುನ್ನ ದಿವಿಹಿರಯ್ಯತುಂ ಉಫದ್ದವಾಫವಾ ಮದನಿ ಮುಅಸ್ಸಸಾತಕುಂ ಕುರಾ ಮಸಕ್ಕೆತ್ತಕ ಹೋದಾ ಕಾಮಿಯಾಬಿ ತಕುಗೆ ಅಗುವಜಂ ಕುರುಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತುಂ ಗೌಮಿ ಫೆಮರುಗ ದಿವಿಹಿ ದೌಲತುಗೆ ಫರಾತುನ್ ರೈಸು ಜುಮ್ಹೂರಿಯಾ ದೆವ್ವಾ ಶರಫಿರಿಕಂಗೆ ಗೌಮಿ ಇನಾಮ ಹಿವ್ವರು ದಿನುಮುಗೆ ಗೌಮಿ ಇನಾಮ್ ಗೌಮಿ ಇನಾಮಂಗೆ ದೆ ಫೋಮಾ ಐಕುಗ ಹುಷಾಳನ್ ಜೆಹೆ ತಕೆತಿ ಪೋರ್ಟಲ್ ಮೆದುರಿಕೊಂ ಹುಷಾಳಾನಿ apply.presidency.gov.mv ಲಿಯುಮು ಹುಷಾಳಾ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಹುಷಾಳಾನಿ ರೈಸು ಜುಮ್ಹೂರಿಯಾಗೆ ಒಫೀಹುಗೆ ರಿಸೆಪ್ಷನ್ ಇನಾಮಂಗೆ ದಿ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಹುಷಾಳೇನಿ ಒಣ ತಿರಿಸ್ಮೆ ದೆಹಾಸ್ ಫನ್ಸವಿಸ್ವಾ ಬುರಾಸ್ಫತಿ ದುವಹುಗೆ ಮೆಂದುರುಫಹು ದೇಗಡಿ ಸುಮಿನೆಟ್ಗೆ ಕುರಿಂ ಇತುರ್ ಮಾಲೂಮಾತ್ ಹೋದುಮಕ್ ಗುಳಾನಿ ತಿನೆ ಹಾಯ್ ನಂಬರ್ ಫೋನ ನುವತ ತಿನೆ ತಿನೆಂ ಹತೆ ಸುಮೆಂ ಎಕೆ ನಂಬರ್ ಫೋನ ನುವತ ಹತೆ ನುವೆಂ ಹಾಯ್ ಸುಮೆಂ ಅಶೆಂ ಹತರೆ ನಂಬರ್ ಫೋನ ಗೌಮಿ ಇನಾಮ್ ದೆಹಾಸ್ ಫನ್ಸವಿಸ್
Edafuri madu he manukurame kihadu.
Hey Jumbo.
Eda futtaki araggiga wara hin norasha hilafa mi kuriyara munna washe eda fushi mi asavegen mani udamadege to hinge to
أريد